Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much. We've got to get like a 1 minute countdown. That way I can open it up because I have to have more time to do this. So, Mr. Producer, I'll have to fix that. All right, everybody. So now we're live on all of our formats on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere else. Let me just change everything, make sure everything is good. Yeah, I'll do we'll find a 1 minute countdown. That way, I have plenty of time. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Hopefully, you're having a great day wherever you are. And, well, we're going to talk about that in just a second. I'll give you all the clues. It's going to be a cool show. We're going to have a cool show as we normally do every Friday. Today is, for those who want to know, today is Paranormal Friday. Paranormal Friday. So many of you just, wait. You're ready. Let's go. Let's go for the Paranormal Fridays. Well, here it is. And, of course, I'd say happy Friday to all of you. Wherever you are in the world, hopefully you're having a good Friday. And for those of you who celebrate Christmas, hopefully the Christmas was wonderful for you and your friends and family as well. And, of course, in the Catholic Church, we still, let me charge this up. There we go. Oh, yep. I just realized it makes it a lot better if you guys could probably hear me. As far as our friends there on TikTok, I forgot to do. Every time this stupid little microphone thing, it's a little small thing, and it goes over the microphone, and I knock it off all the time. I knock it off, and it just I'm gonna have to find it anyway. What are you gonna do? We'll find it a little bit later. Well, all the hustle and bustle is over. Hopefully you didn't spend too much for your Christmas. A lot of people, boy, I tell you what, they go into big debt. And so, well, let's see, who is this? Yeah, well, hello. Yeah, so here we are, folks. Here we are. It is, like I said, it's Paranormal Friday. Tonight we're going to have a lot of really cool conversations. Here's for those of you who are new, this is how we do this. I answer questions at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have demonology questions, paranormal questions, theological questions, I will address them at 8 o'clock. But for the first hour, I give a presentation on a topic, and I'll tell you the topic in just a second. But first, before we do that, we have to get through the business aspect of the show. I want you to make sure you go to this website because these are the producers. They produce the shows. So the Sunday night Bible studies, the Wednesday night Bible study, Friday paranormal, open mic on Saturday, they produce them. So please go to this website at kgradb.com. KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Now they have a wonderful website there. It's really, very cool. And of course, if you put your bishop as your promo code, you're going to get 30% off your subscription. They have amazing shows there. And yep, this show airs there as well. But you got to put Bishop as your promo code. So again, that's very, very important. And you save some money. That's what you really want to do, save some money. Now, also, if you want to go to my website, it's very, very simple. BishopJamesLong.com. That's it. BishopJamesLong, LONG.com. And then finally, if you want to go to the church's website, well, all you got to go is usocc.org. There you go. So hopefully I've given you all the information you need. And I know Mr. Producer's like, oh, thank goodness. Now I can go party. Mr. Producer is a party animal. I tell you, last week he was partying a little bit too much. The eggnog was flowing freely there in the studio. So, but we understand. You gotta have the good times. All right. Yeah. So tomorrow, by the way, we are going to be on air, and I will be here with Miss Wilma. So Miss Wilma and I will be here, and we will have a good time. I'm trying to get my cough drop. We will have a good time. This is an open mic tomorrow. This is what happens when you run late behind. You don't get everything. But we have open mic tomorrow, and from 8 to 8:30, we just goof off. We just have a good time. And then at 8:30, I once again answer all your demonology, paranormal, and all these other questions as well. Oh, well, thank you. Actually, yeah, I got that, I think, a couple of years ago, a year ago. Something. This microphone is actually good. but technically it's really not the best microphone for, in my opinion, for when you do shows. I mean, that's my opinion. Yep. Again, it's a nice microphone, but it's not really what a lot of the radio stations have. A lot of the radio stations have what's called the Electro Voice RE20. Now that's a microphone. Those are the microphones that are actually used in the studios. Like for my brother used to be a DJ in Louisville, and of course I've done radio interviews as well. So every time I go there, they always have that Electro Voice RE20 microphone, and that sounds the best as far as the bass, the clearness of the voice. These are not bad, but as far as in my opinion, if someone's asking about podcasting and what microphone I would suggest, if you really want the best condenser microphone, you have to go for the Electro Voice RE20. That is the best. But that's my opinion. Okay. Tonight we're going to talk. So here's what we're doing. The first hour, I really don't talk a whole lot of questions because I teach on a topic. And today's topic, the Enfield monster. The Enfield monster. This is a crazy story, folks. I got to tell you, if you've never heard of this story, sit back, kick back, relax, grab the eggnog with Mr. Producer, and I'm telling you, this story is cray cray. I mean, it really is. It is crazy. How many of you have ever heard of this? What is called the Enfield monster? Enfield, as in rifle. No, Enfield. This is your Enfield monster. Have you ever heard of this? See, there's so many cryptids out there. There's so many monsters out there. You know what I mean? And when you read some of these things, but here's what's interesting, guys. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Hold on. Don't look it up because I want you to be surprised. So don't look it up because when you hear of this craziness, some of you are going to be thinking, okay, this is insane. But here's what's scary about this. The Enfield monster is based allegedly on a true story. So that's what makes this even more, as in Enfield, Connecticut. Yeah. So that's what makes this more cray-cray, is that it's based on an alleged true story. Thank you, Jacqueline. And for those of you, I want you to be aware that if you ask questions and I don't answer them, it's not because I'm being rude. It's because I have several computers running at the same time. And so TikTok, thank you. If you offer gifts to the ministry and I don't say thank you, it's not because I'm being rude. It's just I can't see it because I'm looking at this computer. So thank you for those of you who are subscribing, and thank you for those of you who are offering to the gifts to the ministry. So thank you. Okay, let's talk about this crazy monster that allegedly exists. So this presentation that we're going to do, and again, hold the questions, if you would, until 8 p.m. I promise, just 1 hour, only 50 minutes from now. 50 minutes, just hold your questions, and then you can slam as many questions as you want. And remind moderators, if you just remind folks, today's presentation on the mysterious and intriguing Enfield monster. So we're going to embark on some crazy journey to unravel this legend and lore surrounding this cryptid, exploring its historical origins. We're going to talk about reported sightings. I'll tell you, the enduring impact on popular culture. Now, the image of this Enfield monster, it's really not. It's not a pretty picture. I mean, it looks kind of ugly, to be honest with you. But if you look at the image that it's supposed to be, it's this three-legged, ugly creature, and there's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of sculpting in this, and some of them are just really, really bad. But let me just show you. I'll show you them on the phone, and that way you can kind of get an idea what I'm talking about. And I'll just briefly show it to you. But you can always Google this as well. Now, this is from the alleged sighting that people have claimed that this is what this is. So here's TikTok first. There you go. That's a sculpture of what people have said this thing looks like. And there's our friends on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and KGREDB Radio. Okay, so now that you've got this idea of what this thing looks like, and again, I understand some of you are thinking, okay, that's just insane. It is. But as I mentioned, the story is allegedly true, and that's what makes it even more interesting. Okay. The Enfield monster it's shrouded in myth, mystery. It's captured the imagination of locals, researchers, enthusiasts, even investigators who take this deadly serious. I mean, you're not going to, this is hardcore stuff with them. Now, as we delve into the depths of this cryptid, this legend, we're going to examine the earliest documented sightings and the characteristics ascribed to this creature. It's a place in the cultural tapestry of folklore. Now, throughout the next hour here, or 50 minutes or so, we're going to navigate through the historical context of Enfield, Illinois area. That's where this allegedly takes place. We're going to dissect eyewitnesses' accounts, analyze the creature's portrayal in popular culture. We're going to contemplate the broader implications of cryptid phenomena on human culture and imagination. So without further ado, let's go. Well, here's the million-dollar question that we have to say. Well, what is this Enfield monster? And hello to all you guys. I appreciate you guys being here. The Enfield monster is a cryptid. That is what... Christine says it looks like a deformed gecko. You're right. It kind of does. It kind of does. But it's a cryptid. And it's a creature whose existence is suggested by alleged... and it is unsubstantiated evidence. Now, the Enfield monster specifically gained notoriety due to a series of reported sightings in the small town of Enfield, Illinois in the 1970s. So now get this. Descriptions of this Enfield monster typically portray it as a large, hairy, ape-like creature, but that picture, that doesn't look anything like ape, standing around 7 feet tall and emitting a piercing, high-pitched sound. Well, to me, that sounds like Bigfoot. So you're already getting some discrepancies between what the portrayals of what people think and what's reported. Now, the creature was first sighted by Henry McDaniel and his family in April of 1973. And they actually reported that it attempted to attack their home. And according to these accounts, the creature had 3 legs. This is where it gets a little bit different from a bipedal creature like Bigfoot, which, by the way, I believe does exist. I know some of you are like, okay, but that's my opinion. And that's my opinion based on the people that I've spoken to who are experts in the field of cryptozoology. And based on the evidence that they have captured, I think there's something there. So this creature had 3 legs, allegedly. It's a short body, 2 pink eyes the size of flashlights, and a coating of gray hair, among other features. So it's interesting how some people are saying it's large, it's hairy, it's an ape-like creature, and then other people are saying no. It has 3 legs, it's a short body, and it has 2 pink eyes the size of a flashlights. Now, subsequent sightings and reports from other residents of the area added to the mystery and the lore surrounding the Enfield monster. Now, the Enfield monster sightings generated widespread interest, prompting local law enforcement agencies to get involved, the media, and even curious onlookers to investigate this phenomenon. So this actually was reported by law enforcement. So the creature's reported appearance and behavior led to a varied interpretation, some speculating that it was an unknown species of an animal, while others viewed it as a product of folklore, misidentification, and there were some people, I was just getting ready to say that, Willie Windwalker Gibson, who's a shaman, who's a great friend of mine, known him for years and years and years. Matter of fact, I've had him on the show. Willie, we'll have to get you back on the show, but let's do it next week. Had said it sounds like an alien. There were actually people who said that this was an alien. Now, despite extensive attention and investigation at the time, the Enfield monster remains an unsolved mystery. Its existence has not been conclusively proven. However, The legend of the Enfield monster persists in local folklore, popular culture, and cryptozoological discussions, where people take this quite seriously, contributing to the enduring fascination with cryptids and unexplained phenomena. People were truly, legitimately terrified. At this time, they were really frightened. So for those people who were living in Enfield, Illinois, I mean, people were scared because they were afraid that this creature, whatever it was lurking in the woods and was attacking homes and animals. And matter of fact, there were some animals. Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, Colt 123. Can you believe in aliens and believe in God? Absolutely, 100%. I think it is virtually impossible to argue that we have no other life outside of this solar system. It just simply doesn't. That can be that I can't comprehend that concept. Only because if you truly, really realize how large our solar system is, just our solar system, and then our Milky Way, and then all the billions of other Milky Ways that are just like ours in the universe, even bigger. Billions. Do you understand? Now, wrap your mind. When I was at space, I know this indulge me for a moment. When I was at space camp, yes, I was a space camp nerd. Okay, when I was a kid, I went to space camp in Huntsville, Alabama, and they talked about how massive the universe was and how many Milky Ways and how many solar systems are out there that are just like, and if not bigger and much older than ours. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. Rag. People are saying, aren't aliens, especially interdimensional ones, just demons? We just simply don't know. It's a good debate to have, and we'll talk about aliens again. Matter of fact, we'll have Willie Windwalker Gibson on because he's pretty amazing. But let's not get off topic. Let's jump back onto Enfield monster. I'll get your questions. I promise. Just hang tight with me until 8:00. So the Enfield monster's enigmatic nature and the enduring interest in its legend have cemented its place in the realm of cryptids. It's adding a compelling chapter of this mysterious creature and the legends that continue to captivate the human imagination. So let's talk a little bit about the origins and the historical context, because I think that's important to understand. So let's give a breakdown. The origins and the historical context of this monster are closely tied to the small town of Enfield, Illinois. Enfield is Enfield. And the series of recorded sightings and that captured the public's imagination and that truly frightened them in the early 1970s. So Enfield it's a rural community in White County, Illinois. It has a rich historical background rooted in agriculture, local industry, and it's a very close-knit community. It's not a large community at all. Now, the town's serene atmosphere and the proximity to natural landscapes and woods, it provided the backdrop for the emergence of the Enfield monster legend. So the earliest documented sightings of the Enfield monster occurred in April of 1973. Again, when I mentioned Henry McDaniel, if you want to Google that later on, he's a local resident, what he was, reported a harrowing encounter with this creature. So this is what he said happened. According to McDaniel's account, the Enfield monster allegedly attempted to attack his home, sparking widespread curiosity and concern in the townspeople. Thank you. McDaniel's detailed description of the creature's appearance included its unusual feature and behavior, immediately captured public attention. It set off a chain of subsequent sightings and reports. Now, the Enfield monster, the sightings quickly garnered media attention. There were journalists who arrived, investigators, curious onlookers, police, the local law enforcement, and relevant authorities. They became involved, and it was a serious attempt to investigate this phenomenon and reassure the community everything is going to be okay. So it wasn't just McDaniel who saw this. Now, the historical context of the early 1970s with this backdrop of social and cultural change undoubtedly influenced the reception and the interpretation of the Enfield monster sightings. See, the era back then, it was marked by a growing interest in unexplained phenomena, cryptids, and the paranormal, reflected in popular culture and media at the time. So, yes, the media played a part in this, in that they elevated these creatures, and so people might have been a little bit more on the jump. Now, the Enfield monster's emergence occurred within the broader context of cryptid lore and enduring human fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. Its reported sightings and subsequent impact on the local community exemplify the intersection of folklore, local legend, human imagination, reflecting the enduring allure of cryptids and their ability to captivate the public's attention. Some even reported that animals were missing or even mutilated. The historical context and local setting in the Enfield, Illinois, it provides a rich backdrop for understanding the emergence of this impact on the Enfield monster legend. If you really think about, if you're in a culture, in the country, and you don't have a huge police force, and you're having woods around you, and animals are then coming up missing or deceased, and then you have someone reported that this creature is attacking their home, you can understand why some folks would be a little afraid. Now, here's what I want to say, and we'll get back to this presentation in a second. People ask me all the time, is there a particular book, for example, on demonology? People are asking me if I think this is a demon. Well, first of all, let me just say this. If you're really wanting to find a book and read about demonology, then I'm going to encourage you strongly to go to this website, darksiege.com. Siege is S-I-E-G-E, darksiege.com. You've got to get those books. They are phenomenal. And I'm telling you, there are very few books out there that I will absolutely strongly endorse. Willie Windwalker Gibson is one of them, his book. But go to darksiege.com. And please he has 2 books out. His name is Jason McLeod. I'm telling you, he worked with the Warrens. This case that he writes about is phenomenal. I mean, I promise you, if you get this book, you won't put it down. You will buy it and buy it. You read one chapter and you go right back. You're just like, I remember one time I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I started reading, and I read one chapter. I was like, man, I can't put this book down. And then it was like that. It was like that. Do yourself a favor, darksiege.com. You don't have to be afraid to read them. It really is. This is based on a true story, a true case that he worked. I have endorsed these books strongly because they are just that phenomenal. Okay. Darksiege.com. We'll talk about that. Moderators at 8 p.m., if you would do me a favor and remind me of 2 things on TikTok, Dark Siege and the Retreat. So that way I won't forget, because there's so many things I have going on right now. So Dark Siege and the Retreat. Please, moderators, at 8 o'clock. Oh yeah. That's a good. Yeah, sure. Let me just do that for you a second. Someone's asking me, can I? Yeah, no problem. There you go. I put it on for Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and KGRDB Radio. There's the link right there, darksiege, SIEGE.com. Yep. And there you go. Then so just simply go to that website and order them. Order them. I'm telling you guys, it is. I promise you will not regret it. Okay, so here, let's talk about this sightings. As I mentioned, in April of 1973, the McDaniels family, it wasn't just one person. It wasn't just Henry. The actual whole family, they encountered with this creature. It became the foundational event that sparked widespread interest in this phenomenon. So his testimony described a series of disturbing events that unfold in their rural home. So it wasn't just a one-time event. This actually happened several times. Now, what he said specifically was that he and his family were really startled. They were terrified because originally it started with strange noises outside their residence in the dead of night. So obviously they live kind of in the country, and there are very, very little lights out there, number one. So it's already kind of eerie. And then you have woods around you, and you have these really strange noises. Now, people are saying, well, it could be a bird. Folks, If they've lived in there all their lives, they know the difference between a bird and some other creature they've never heard before. Now, investigating the source of the commotion, McDaniel actually claimed to have witnessed an inexplicable creature lurking near his property. So he decided to go out and find out what this strange noise was. Remember, we're talking the dead of night, no lights. You can understand that could be kind of creepy by itself. So the creature would later become known as the Enfield monster. And he described it as a towering ape-like entity with a peculiar and unsettling appearance. And he said that this creature emitted a very high-pitched, piercing sound and displayed aggressive behavior, territorial behavior, prompting fear and concern among the eyewitnesses. Notably, McDaniel's description of the Enfield monster, he was very descriptive. He said it had 3 legs, but he also said it had it was a short, stocky body, but his legs were very long and 2 large pink eyes, resembling those of flashlights. And he saw it was a coat of gray hair. So these details, along with the creature's reported attempt to break into the family's home, contributed to the sense of alarm and intrigue surrounding the sighting. He also stated that it wasn't just outside, that this creature actually tried to get into their home. And sometimes it would bang on the sides of his home, and or the door would like someone was trying to break in. Now, following the initial encounter, the McDaniel family, their report of the Enfield monster's aggressive behavior and unorthodox appearance quickly captured the attention of local residents. And as I mentioned, law enforcement got involved. And the subsequent dissemination of their account through news outlets, word of mouth, led to a surge of curiosity within the community. So you got to understand, this was big news. Something shook is Enfield, Illinois, Enfield, Enfield, Illinois. So even the news got involved. This truly frightened this family. Now, the first sighting of the Enfield monster, rooted in the McDaniel family's occurrence, marked the beginning of a series of reported encounters that would contribute to this mystery. So it wasn't just the McDaniel family. There were people, that the townspeople were saying that they were seeing this creature as well, and this high-pitched sound, and they were terrified. Thank you. Well, thank you. And the compelling nature of the initial sighting, coupled with a detailed description provided by Henry McDaniel, laid the groundwork for the Enfield monster's emergence. Now, again, the description and characteristics we talked about attributed to the Enfield monster, as reported by eyewitnesses and individuals who claimed to encounter the creature. So there were investigators who actually went out into the woods to try to find this creature, and they would see what appeared to be a 3-legged creature running, and they explained what he looked like, etc. So it wasn't just the townspeople; it was also investigators who showed up too. And the accounts have collectively shaped this prevailing image of this cryptid. And what in the world was it? Now, there were eyewitness testimonies, again, just besides the people who lived there, and they reported a general depiction of the Enfield monster. Again, it seems like they're always reporting primarily it was large. It had humanoid. It was a humanoid creature, and some said it was 7 feet tall. Some said it was even more, like 10 feet tall. Specific details, it varied depending on who they spoke to, which makes sense because the people say, well, why is there inconsistency? Well, for a variety of reasons. Number one, if they're seeing them at night. 2, if he's running and hunching down, then obviously that perception may be different if this thing is standing straight up. Now, it seems like all of them are describing this as tall. The minimum seems like to be 7 feet and towering over the witnesses. They all describe this creature as formidable, that you didn't want to mess with it. Enfield, Illinois. Enfield, Illinois. So Enfield, Illinois. If we have any moderators or if we have anybody Enfield, so if anyone's asking, where is it? Enfield, Illinois. This creature is portrayed as robust, muscular, contributing to its intimidating stature. The limbs, as I said, reports have mentioned the creature having 3 legs, a feature that sets it apart from conventional animal anatomy. I mean, you would think Bigfoot, 2 legs, bipedal. But the eyes, it seems like every single person described this creature as having large, some say small, but they all said it has glowing or like a luminescent eyes. Some people said it was red. Some people said it was pink. Every one of them have said that it's almost like a reflector, like a flashlight or a reflector. You have a light outside, on a reflector. That's how they reported this thing. Now, a lot of people reported it had a coat of gray or even dark fur covering its body. So why would there be discrepancy? Well, because if there's light and you have shining a light on it, you could see the gray. If it's not and it's dark, perception is it's dark fur. But it does seem that fur is something that everybody says this thing has. Witnesses have described the texture of the creature's hair as unkept, coarse, sometimes even matted. The vocalization is what many people have said is really frightening. So they say it's a high-pitched, it's a piercing sound. It has been characterized as eerie, unsettling, distinct, very distinct from typical vocalizations, not a deep grunt or growl. Everybody has basically said who have seen this said that it was in fact aggressive. Now, could it be territorial? Well, certainly. Some accounts have depicted the creature as displaying aggressive, even charging, like a lion would, or a bobcat, or even a gorilla. And this aggressive behavior, including attempted to even approach and attack individuals. And reportedly, it has attacked homes. Now, these reported characteristics have contributed to the mystique and intrigue surrounding this Enfield monster, shaping its portrayal in the public consciousness. People dismiss it and say, well, I just think that's nonsense. Here's the problem. If it was just one person that was reporting this, then you could kind of scratch your head and say, I don't know about this one. But it wasn't just one person. There was quite a few. And not only was it the locals who were reporting this, but allegedly even police have said, yeah, there's something out there. We don't know what it is, but the police have said that they saw this. Investigators say they saw this creature. We just simply don't know. And that's what makes this so interesting. So the reported sightings of the Enfield monster, it prompted various efforts to investigate this phenomena. As I mentioned, local authorities got involved, researchers got involved, and this investigative pursuits sought to substantiate the existence of the creature. They wanted to understand its origin. Unfortunately, did they catch did they catch this creature? Well, no, they didn't. Well, a serial burglar. Well, see, that's the problem. You could say it could be a serial burglar, but it had three legs, and its eyes was more of a reflector. And this high pitch was unnatural. They described it as something that humans could not possibly make. Now, as I mentioned, law enforcement agencies in the Enfield, Illinois area responded to the reported sightings. So the reports were so dramatic and constant that the law enforcement started conducting inquiries and even patrols aimed at ensuring the public safety and addressing community concerns. So this became such an issue that a lot of people were seeing this and were terrified. And the law enforcement's involvement, they assessed the validity of eyewitness testimonies. and they wanted to provide some type of sense of security. But here is the scary part about this, I think, is that law enforcement said that some of these reports seemed to be legitimate, in that there were people who were reporting seeing this creature at different times who did not communicate to one another and described exactly what they saw. And apparently what they saw matched quite often what another person saw. That's very interesting. Now, members of the local community and even the nearby areas, they actively participated in efforts to investigate this creature. They shared accounts of their own sightings with police, with news, with each other, organizing community discussions. And they actually collaborated to gather information or evidence related to this cryptid. And individuals with an interest in cryptozoology, that's a study of hidden or unidentified animals, they were drawn to this Enfield monster reports, seeking to apply scientific methodology to the investigation. So they wanted to use equipment to validate this claim. And this included field research, interviews with witnesses, collection of potential physical evidence that would support the existence of this cryptid. As I mentioned, the media coverage got involved because it became such widespread attention garnered by the Enfield monster, led to extensive media coverage, with news outlets and journalists documenting the reported sightings, conducting interviews, disseminating information to a broader audience. And that facilitated the sharing of eyewitnesses' accounts. It contributed to the public's awareness of this phenomenon. And scientific and pseudoscientific perspective, some investigations involved individuals with expertise in relevant scientific fields, such as zoology and wildlife biology, actually got involved with this. That is how serious this was. Now, they sought to analyze the reported characteristics and behavior of this monster, and pseudoscientific approaches, including speculative theories, unconventional methodologies, were also applied by some researchers and enthusiasts. While the investigations into the Enfield monster generated considerable interest and discussion, conclusive evidence substantiating the existence of the cryptid remain elusive. How can you have so many people see this creature and yet there's no evidence? They gain no evidence except for eye reports. Despite the concerted efforts to understand the reported sightings, the Enfield monster has remained steeped in mystery, even today, leaving its status as an unverified cryptid, open to ongoing debate and fascination. The investigation surrounding the Enfield monster, it illustrates the intersection of folklore, community engagement, pursuit of knowledge. A lot of people want to dismiss it and say, oh, this is just stupid. This is just ridiculous. It's just. Well, you weren't there. You weren't there, and neither was I. And so for these people, what they saw was 100% real, and you were not going to convince them otherwise. And I think far too often we're quick to judge someone even though we weren't present. And that really bothers me sometimes. I think we that the ad hominem attacks on individuals, rather than look at the evidence or look at what was reported. These people have nothing to gain by telling a big fat lie. Nothing. They weren't out writing books. They weren't out doing movies. They were not doing anything at all to garner income. You can certainly say, well, there's intent behind perhaps lying or creating this make-believe. Well, if they're making a big money, but they didn't. So what they did is tell the story, knowing full well that was going to put a target on their back by being made fun of. So this is something that I think we have to be very careful about, immediately jumping to conclusions and then attacking people. And what's fascinating is some people saw this creature as 7 foot tall, 8 feet tall, and some people say he was 4 or 5 feet tall. And people say that's a discrepancy. Well, again, this creature could have been lurching down. He could have been stalking. We just simply don't No. Now, there are some reports saying that he had short claws, like for hands. Some people say they didn't see that at all. There have been books. So if you don't know anything, the Enfield monster has been featured in books, articles about cryptids and unexplained phenomena. And there's a lot of books on this. The Enfield monster actually has been the subject of TV shows and even documentaries that focus on paranormal phenomena and cryptids. It's been featured in episodes of series such as Monster Quest and In Search of Enfield, Enfield. Yeah, Enfield. Say one more time. Enfield, Illinois. Okay. Now, while the Enfield monster, you're very welcome, has not been the central focus of major. That's it. That's an interesting thing, though. If you think about this, the Enfield monster that garnered so much attention and terrified people in the 1970s, that has not, as of yet, to my knowledge, been the central focus of a major motion picture. I mean, it has likely been referred to on a feature in an independent or perhaps a low budget film, but related to cryptozoology and other sightings. But as far as a major motion picture, the Enfield monster there's no movie. And I think that's quite fascinating, considering that this was such an uproar in the early 70s. Now, some musicians and bands have been inspired by cryptids like the Enfield monster, and they actually have referenced them in their songs or album. And the creature's eerie and mysterious nature has made it a compelling subject for storytelling and music. With the rise of podcasts and online media focused on paranormal topics, the Enfield monster has likely been discussed more than once and analyzed in various audio and video formats. So believe it or not, I mean, some people did record it. This alleged creature, again, I have to say alleged because if I don't, people get angry. This alleged sounding creature, I'm trying to find something. Hold on one second. So if I can, yeah, it was 1973. So 1 second. Yeah, if I can find this, well, thank you very much. Yeah, it doesn't. I saw this one sound, but it can't sustain it. But if you Google EVP of the Enfield, thank you, then you might be able to catch this. Now, a lot of people say, okay, is this fake or is this real? Oh, here's the deal. As I mentioned in 1973, this allegedly happened. And a lot of people want to debate this, and that's fine. That's fair. That's completely fair. Some people regard this whole report as a potential hoax, and others consider there is possibility that something actually genuinely occurred. The incident has never been definitively resolved, so it remains a matter of interpretation and belief, really. But here's some things that I think we have to consider before we immediately discard this. First of all, several individuals claim to have seen the Enfield monster during the 1973 sightings. So it wasn't just one witness. And I mentioned that the accounts varied. Many described a similar creature with 3 legs. It seemed like every single person said it had 3 legs. Red or pink eyes, generally a humanoid appearance, and the sincerity and consistency of these witnesses have been scrutinized by skeptics and believers alike. Now, there's debate as far as, was it really hairy? Was it not? Was it tall? Was it short? So there's some inconsistencies there. Now, despite the eyewitness reports, there's not been any tangible evidence of the Enfield monster. And there were never clear footprints, photographs, or any physical traces to support these claims. So this absence of concrete evidence has fueled skepticism about, does this creature really exist? Now, there have been some skeptics who have offered various potential explanations. So we have to be fair. And they claim, including misidentification of known animals. Some say this is all just a hoax perpetrated by local residents. But the point to do that would to be the benefit of it financially in some way, but they haven't, or even mass hysteria. Now, others have suggested that the creature could have been a cryptid or even unknown animal. Regardless of the veracity of the sightings, the Enfield monster has become a part of the local folklore. It's left a lasting impact on the community. It has been embraced as a part of the town's identity, with the creature's image appearing in local businesses and events. And believe it or not, there are some families that will not allow their children to go into the woods, even to this day in that area, because of their true, legitimate fear of this creature. But due to the lack of conclusive evidence and the passage of time, it is challenging to definitively determine whether the Enfield monster was a hoax or a genuine unexplained phenomenon. And the Enfield monster, this creature is quite fascinating. As I mentioned, it had multiple sightings. There was so much media coverage of this creature. It had a massive community impact. So even today, and the cryptid status, the Enfield monster is often categorized, as I mentioned, as a cryptid. And again, that's a term that's used to describe creatures that are reported in folklore, but for which there's no conclusive scientific evidence. And there's a lot of skepticism. And I understand. That's fine. But as a cryptid, this creature as a cryptid shares similarities and differences with other cryptids from cultural mythology. So here are some similarities. Number one, like many cryptids and creatures from cultural mythology, the Enfield monster is steeped in folklore and local legend. It's become a part of the community's identity, whether they like it or not. Cryptids, including the Enfield monster, often represent unexplained phenomena that challenge conventional scientific understanding. It has an impact on popular culture. Along with other cryptids and mythological creatures, it's left an imprint on popular culture. And cryptids such as the Enfield monster are often associated with specific geographical locations, while creatures from cultural mythology can be found in diverse cultural contexts around the world. The Enfield monster, so it seems, is tied to a specific locality in Illinois, while mythological creatures may originate from diverse cultural traditions. This is what makes the Enfield monster so unique, because it's not being reported in other different cultures, such as Bigfoot, or the Yeti. You have the Yeti being reported all around the world in many different cultures. But what's very strange about the Enfield monster is it seems that it's just geographical. Now, mythological creatures are often deeply rooted in ancient traditions and historical narratives, whereas cryptids, like the Enfield monster, are often associated with more recent sightings and reports. And of course, we have to consider, I'll get to your questions in a minute, guys. We have to consider the belief systems. Creatures from cultural mythology are often deeply embedded in the belief system and spiritual practices of the cultures from which they originate. But cryptids, on the other hand, are often the subject of scientific investigation and speculation, with beliefs about their existence varying from individuals and communities. I think the Enfield monster shares some commonalities with creature from cultural mythology and other cryptids. It also possesses unique characteristics that clearly distinguish it from within the broader context of unexplained phenomena and folklore. Now, look, the cryptid phenomena, and I talked about cryptids, what they are, as exemplified by the Enfield monster. It reflects the intersection of unexplained phenomena, human imagination, folklore. Cryptids are creatures that are reported in folklore and myth, but for which there is no conclusive scientific evidence. So the phenomena, encompasses a range of mysterious entities. Now, yeah, certainly you can argue this is all human imagination. The Enfield monster, it illustrates how human imagination plays a pivotal role in creation and perpetuation of cryptids. It talks about folklore. Cryptids, including the Enfield monster, often become enmeshed in folklore and local legend. And sometimes it does it. The story becomes embellished. They become bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, now the Enfield monster come down in a spaceship. And I think because there have been so many sightings, the initial report, the local impact, the media coverage, the continued interest, that makes us at least scratch our head and say, let's kind of figure out if there's anything else going on. Now, I talked about it is possible that this whole thing was misidentified. It's possible that it was a hoax. It is possible that there were psychological and perceptual factors that played a role here. For example, factors such as suggestibility or expectation, group dynamics. It can influence how sightings are reported. We got to be fair. There's natural explanations, environmental factors, unusual weather events, wildlife behavior, other natural occurrences. It could have contributed to the reported sightings. Also, mass hysteria. We have to be careful about mass hysteria. In some cases, reports of unusual phenomena certainly be attributed to mass hysteria, or what's also called as collective delusions. That's the official term, where one or more individuals report a sighting. It can influence the perception and reports of others in the community. For example, here's a perfect example, speaking from collective delusion within faith. And again, I'm clergy, but mass hysteria, the preacher says, hallelujah, hallelujah, and one person falls down. And then another person falls down. And then another person falls down. And then you have what's called collective delusion, where it influences the perception reports of others in the community, where everybody now falls down. Now, people say, now, wait a minute, Bishop Long, that's not very nice, because that could be a legitimate miracle going on. The Holy Spirit could be filling the room, and the preacher is waving his coat around and whoosh and doing this, and I fall down and all that. Well, okay, that's, you can argue that. But I have a question, and this has nothing to do with the Enfield monster, but why is it that the people fall, but the help doesn't? So in other words, when the people fall, the help behind the people, so they don't fall and hit their head and bust their head open, there's a big lawsuit, they don't fall. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if this is truly happening where everybody's falling and the spirit, so there's the spirit just, you can't touch this guy because he's one of the people who carry. I'm like, come on, seems a little strange to me. But that, again, that's called collective delusions, where everybody else falls except for the ushers, because the ushers has to stand there and make sure that the person doesn't fall and hurt their head. Just saying. Now, what happened? It happened allegedly at 10 p.m. That's when Henry McDaniel reported this creature. He heard he described it as a scratching sound at his front door, and he looked out and actually saw something that he thought at first was a bear. So he grabbed a gun and a flashlight. He went outside, and a strong wind, and then it saw this creature and between two rose bushes, and that's when he said it had 3 legs on it. It had a short body, 2 little short arms, pink eyes, big as flashlights. He said it stood 4.5 feet tall, but it was, again, hunched down. And he later added that it was almost like a human body. So what he did is he fired 4 shots at the creature. One shot actually hit it. And he said he described it that it made this hissing sound like a wild cat before fleeing towards a nearby railroad embankment, covering 50 feet in 3 jumps. So he called the local authorities. And the local authorities claimed they discovered footprints in the soft earth near the house, which McDaniel described as dog-like shape. It had 6 toe pads. And so the police considered McDaniel to be rational and sober. And in a later press interview, McDaniel said, if they do find it, they will find more than one, and it won't be from this planet. I can tell you that. So there was investigators interviewing nearby residents were told that Greg Garrett, as a 10-year-old neighbor of McDaniel, claimed to have encountered the creature a half an hour before McDaniel did, and that the creature actually had stepped on his feet, tearing his tennis shoes to shreds. But the boy later told Western Illinois University that his report was a hoax. So that wasn't a very good thing. So 2 weeks later, May 6th, McDaniel called the radio station, WWKI, claiming to have seen the creature again at 3 a.m. in the morning. And it was negotiating the trestles of the railroad tracks near his home. And McDaniel said, I saw something moving on the railroad track, and there it stood. Now, he said he didn't shoot it. And it started down on the railroad track, and it wasn't in a hurry or anything. And a search party, including WWKI's news director, Rick Rainbow, explored the area later on that day and reported observing, and this is what I'm talking about. They reported seeing an ape-like creature standing in an abandoned building near McDaniel's home. And they claimed to have made a recording of the creature's cries and fired a shot at it before it fled. And cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman investigated the case and the sound recording. And 2 days later, a day after McDaniel was interviewed on local radio, the local press reported the police were called to investigate reports of gunfire and arrested 5 young men from out of town who had actually come to Enfield in order to photograph the creature carrying shotguns and rifles for protection. The men claimed that they saw the creature. And the White County Sheriff dismissed the reports of this monster hunting expedition as an exaggeration, saying that the men were just out drinking. So that they were charged with hunting violation. The incidents were reported widely in the press at the time. I mentioned it was in newspapers throughout the state. And there was an interview on radio station WGN Chicago, articles in the Chicago Daily News, several places. And after the arrest of these 5 men who had arrived to hunt the creature, residents of Enfield expressed fears that press coverage would lead to further monster hunters who would ultimately inadvertently shoot citizens or livestock. And it was actually suggested that the creature may have been a kangaroo, as Jeremiah had mentioned, escaped by a nearby zoo. And that would explain the 3 legs, the description. Now, but McDaniel was adamant that the creature was not a kangaroo, having owned such a creature as a pet while on a military service in Australia, and noting that kangaroos have narrow faces and tracks that leave claw marks. So following the media coverage of the creature, an Ohio man contacted a local newspaper stating that the creature may have been his pet kangaroo, Macy, which had been lost or stolen a year previously. A few days after the event, United Press International quoted an anthropology student who suggested that the creature may have been a wild ape, noting that such animals had been reported throughout the Mississippi area since 1941. Now, researchers in Western Illinois University, headed by David Miller, investigated and analyzed the incident and published it as a case study in social contagion. The researchers found there were no more than 3 or so firsthand reports, and that subsequently it had been exaggerated. And in the area of the southern Illinois, it was not unreasonable to assume that Mr. M, who saw this, or the radio news team had actually seen an animal. People we interviewed framed the recent interviews of these terms, and they say it could be a dog, a calf, a bear, a deer, wildcats, etc. But it certainly is crazy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. When you hear about this, it really does make you wonder. And I don't know. I just wanted to present that to you guys and see what you think. But it certainly does. Yeah, I mean, could it have been a kangaroo? Well, I mean, it certainly is possible, considering the fact that the gentleman who said he had a pet kangaroo, but I don't know. There have been, yep. Oh, thank you very much. But there have been other people who said, nope, absolutely not. Okay. Thank you, Jeffro. So a couple more things. Folks, remember, now I want you to go to this website. Yep. Thank you very much, everybody. Go to this website, darksiege.com. And make sure you pick up those books. I'm telling you guys, if you want a book, if you want books that are, that are on cases that are legitimate, then Jason McLeod, who's a friend of mine, he worked with the Warrens. He was trained by the Warrens, and he actually worked the case. And I'm telling you, this case is phenomenal. Darksiege.com, SIEGE, SIEGE.com. Well, I think the three legs was the tail. Thank you there, Mr. Producer. I think that's what it was. It was the tail. It was the two legs and the tail. Perhaps that would explain the 4 feet. You know, I think it certainly is plausible, but it's pretty interesting. Yeah, darksiege.com. And also, so here's the deal. We are going to have I'm not finished yet. I'm just letting you guys know a little bit about some things that I don't want to forget about. So we have a retreat. Yep, thank you very much. We have a retreat that's coming up March 14th through the 17th. So it's coming up just a couple months. Now, we are with the United States Old Catholic Church, and we do not get paid as clergy. So we don't receive a stipend. We don't receive a salary. We don't receive a housing allowance. We do this ministry 100% free for you, the community. No stipend, nothing. But that's okay, because we are passionate about ministry. We have 3 individuals who will be ordained to the priesthood. I will be there. I'll be ordaining them. And of course, our abbot will be there, and our Benedictines, and there will be individuals who will be making their perpetual vows as well. But it costs money to get to these locations. And none of us have won the lottery yet. So if you would like to help one of the deacons, I am not asking for help for me. I'm not asking for help for any of the leadership. What I am asking is to consider helping our deacons. Yeah, I mean, sure. No, I appreciate it. Someone sending me a message on Messenger. I know I'm not here to ask for help from myself. I'm here to ask help for the deacons. And yeah, I know this is my format, and I know this is my social media, and I certainly could say, "Oh yeah, help me," but that would not be that would be inappropriate. So if you would like to help the deacons, please consider it. So go to Bishop James Long. Oh, no, actually, it's not Bishop James Long. I think it's USOCC. Yeah, usocc.org. Yeah, you can go to the retreat. It's open to the public. So go to usocc.org and click on what's called the retreat button. If you the retreat link, and if you do that I really appreciate that very, very much. So let me just put that in here, USOCC. That way we can keep that in the chat. So retreat. There you go. Yeah, it's USOC. Oh, I said com. Sorry. USOCC.org/retreat. That's the thing. My bad. Yeah, it's not .com. I don't know why I keep saying .com. I have. Let me delete that. I have usocc.com, but it's usocc.org/retreat. And we have our 3 deacons there. And they have, however they receive donations, it's there for you. Please consider helping them. They would appreciate that. So would I. And they're very, very, very devoted to this ministry. They're very devoted to helping you. They are involved also in demonology. And so you never know. Thank you there, Mr. Producer. You never know if you're one of the families who contacts the Society of Saint Benedict, that our abbot is the owner and control, and he governs. So you might need our help, and we never charge, never will. And so this is one way how we can help our deacons. So. Well, that's a great question, Susie. Respectfully, the Catholic Church in Rome has so much money. Why aren't you assisted from Rome? That's a great question. We are actually not affiliated with Rome. So in 1890, officially, well, actually 1120 was the official break. But in 1890, there was a split within the Church of Utrecht, over papal infallibility. And because the church in Utrecht was given complete autonomy by Pope Leo XIII. So because he couldn't keep going back and forth ordaining and or consecrating bishops. So they said, okay, build the community, build it. And so they did. The church in Utrecht, and they became a very, very wealthy and wonderful, vibrant community. So then the church, the Rome, decided, okay, well, now we're back here. And so we want the property. We want your money. So surrender your money, surrender your property. And the church in Utrecht said, no. This is the community's money. We haven't asked for any money from Rome. This belongs to the community. You've given us autonomy to do this. And then Rome said, well, you're heretics if you don't. And so then the Pope declared himself infallible. And they said, no, this is overreach. There's no man infallible. Now, people say, well, again, if you're going to argue, then you're invalid, all this other stuff. No, actually, there's an article called Dominus Jesus that was written by Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, and also by Pope John Paul, that states any church that has apostolic succession is considered validly Catholic. I'm very aware of all the documentation that Rome. I studied in the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years. I studied in graduate school. I'm quite familiar with the documentation on the Old Catholic Church. Rome does acknowledge Old Catholic lines, and so that's why we are not in alignment with Rome. We acknowledge that the Pope is the Bishop of Rome, but we receive absolutely no stipend, nothing for Rome at all. So that is why we do. We are here to help as many people as we possibly can, and so we certainly appreciate. Yep. You can ask questions. We certainly appreciate you guys helping out if you like. Okay. St. Michael necklace is at your store. Okay, yeah. You can also, if you want to go to my store, you can. It's bishopjameslong.com/store, or just click on the store link. And we do have Saint Benedict necklaces and Saint Benedict bracelets. Saint Benedict is the patron saint for exorcists as well as police officers. So if you would like to purchase one, I'll be more than happy to bless it for you for free. And just go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the store link. Okay, so there you go. How was it meeting my dear friends Bishop Cloud and Bishop Phil? Oh, I think they're great. I think Bishop Cloud and Bishop Phil, he's just, good guys. Good guy. And I have known Bishop Cloud for so long. And as well as the Bishop Phil, and I finally got to meet them at our event that we did with Jason McLeod, and it was good. It was good to meet them. It's so crazy. You meet people from online, and you know them, and you get to develop a friendship. But it's so different when you actually get to meet them. And so yeah, that was nice. That was really nice. Well, thank you very much, Jane. I appreciate that. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to do the best I can to answer them in my limited ability. But no. We're usocc.org. usocc.org. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years. I received my minor orders within the Roman Catholic Church. I have not, Maribel, I have not. Nope. Are you one of the U.S.? I don't understand. Are you of the UOU or U? You have to explain that one because I don't know the abbreviation. I'm not familiar with the abbreviation. I apologize. Oh yeah, he's a good guy. Good guy. Great guy. I like Bishop Cloud. Okay, I do have articles that I also want to talk about that as well. I am an exorcist. Yep. Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome, Pat. I would love to have Mr. Producer. I need to talk to Andrea Perrin and see if she wants to join us again, because I would really like to talk to her about the Conjuring House. Have you ever heard of the glass breaking out of nowhere, sign of death? I've heard of that theory, but I think that's more of a wives' tale. But thank you, Susie. Oh, great, fantastic. Yeah, she's a great friend of mine. I love Andrea. Andrea, for those of you who don't know, Andrea Perrin is on next, and she'll be on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Andrea she grew up in the Conjuring House, so she grew up there. So you're not going to find any better source of information about the Conjuring House than her. So, can someone donate? What? Oh, it's usocc.org, usocc.org, and just click on the retreat link. That's it. Yeah, I have actually 110-page documentation that shows my apostolic succession to Peter. Oh, what's apostolic? Apostolic succession is Peter laid hands upon this disciple, this disciple lays hand to this disciple, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's what it means. Bishop Greer got banned on TikTok. Why? No, I didn't hear about that, James. He got banned. I don't understand. What was my worst exorcism? Yeah. Oh, by the way, Andrea Perrin is on next at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on kgradb.com. So if you wanted to listen to Andrea, watch her, you need to go. KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. And don't forget, go there and subscribe. But put Bishop as your promo code. You're going to get 30% off your subscription. They have great shows there. Thank you very much, Judy Ann. They have terrific shows. And it's already inexpensive. So if you love the paranormal, make sure you go there. I have heard Andy, yes. Okay. No, as far as I've performed 31 exorcisms. They have been successful only to God, thank God. And I would, as far as the worst, the one that was most emotional, she was 68 years old. And that was an incubus case. And that was unbelievably violent. So that probably was the worst. But as far as, the first exorcism was one that really caught my attention, because you can read about exorcism and read about what happens and the manifestations, but until you're actually there in the presence of a demonic, it's a different world, a completely different world than reading about it. So I don't think so. I don't remember that. No. I know, James. Isn't it terrible? Yeah, Susie, the Pope's Exorcist movie, I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. I actually, the beginning and the middle was okay. The beginning and middle, I thought they did a great job with infestation. I thought they did a great job with even oppression, the stage of oppression. But the end of the movie was so stupid that I actually got up and walked out of the theater. It was just so utterly dumb. And I thought, that's it. I couldn't do it. Okay. Can you describe that doll that you exercise? Well, I didn't exercise it. So you can't exercise. You don't perform an exorcism on a doll or perform an exorcism on a house. You bless those items. You perform an exorcism on the demonic entity that has infested itself within the home, or even an attachment. So there's a big difference between for a blessing to removal of the attachment versus an exorcism. And you have two types of exorcisms. There's the solemn rite of exorcism, the minor rite of exorcism. This doll was crazy. It was crazy. The family, the mother bought it. She was obsessed with this doll. She went to some store, antique store, and she became obsessed. And so she purchased it and she brought it home. They had it was a big home, and it's like a McMansion kind of a thing. It's a 3-story home, and she brought it home, and then activity started occurring in this home. And within, I think, a week or two, I forgot what it was, the entire house burnt down. I mean, the whole house completely burned down to crisp. This was on the Legion of Exorcists show that I was on. The whole house was nothing. So they contacted me, and I showed up. And when I pulled up, of course, it was in ashes. There was nothing there. There was nothing. The only thing that I could see when I pulled up was a bookcase. It was a metal bookcase, and there was something on top of it. I thought, well, that's kind of odd. And so I met the family, and she said, "Let me show you where the entrance was." And so I walked in. She said, "This is the parlor," and all that. And then to the right was the formal living room. And so when you saw to the right, there's nothing there. So you had to use your imagination. And there was a big staircase in front. But there was a big metal, elaborate, beautiful bookcase, and it had burnt marks on it. And on top of this was this doll. Now, this doll, which was very odd, it's porcelain, but it's a clown doll, and everything burnt to a crisp. That was the only thing standing, which made no sense. None. Now, on the fabric of the doll, the clothes, you can actually see the burnt marks, and you can actually still smell you can, if you smell it, you can the burn. But it was quite odd. It was very, very, very odd. So yeah, I have that, and I do take it to presentations when I do demonology. I think, well, you can watch all the shows on KGRADB radio. So kgradb.com. It's also on the Facebook, and I believe on my YouTube page. I have not seen The Shift, but I definitely want to see it. The Shift is supposed to be absolutely amazing. Amazing. Father Dan, I'd have to know his last name. So, by the way, if you're wanting New Year's Eve, and by the way, New Year's Eve, I will be here this Sunday. So I'll have Bible study as I normally do. It'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll be here at 8 o'clock with you guys. So if you have no plans and you would like to have plans, well, just join us. That would be great. The Shift is a pretty amazing movie from what I have seen on the trailer. And yeah, The Shift. Unfortunately, it hasn't really gotten a huge amount of. I wish it did. I think it needs to have more publicity. But yeah, it's pretty intense. It's pretty. The actor who plays the demon is Emil McDonough, I think, or McDonough. And let me tell you something. This guy, he was amazing. He's an amazing actor. So I don't want to tell you too much about it, but I'll say in 2008, a hedge fund manager, Kevin Garner, is fired following the collapse of Bear Stearns. So Kevin goes to a bar where he meets a woman named Molly, who approaches him on a dare from her friends. The two hit it off. They get married. And years later, Kevin and Molly are now estranged following the death of their son, Daniel. So Molly has become an embittered alcoholic, and Kevin is unhappy in his job. And as he works for a much younger boss, Brendan. And Brendan hates Kevin because his parents lost their home in the subprime mortgage crisis. So after learning that he'll be fired, Kevin leaves work and is in a car accident. And Kevin is apparently pulled from the wreck by a mysterious stranger who identifies himself only as the benefactor. And the benefactor tells Kevin that he is actually shifted. He shifted him to another reality following the accident. And they are in a parallel universe. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to ruin it for you. But the benefactor is not so much a benefactor. So it's intense. It's a really, really good. Yeah, and here's what's so sad about that. Emil McDonough, he is such a great actor, that he has a deep faith in God, and he will not be in a movie in which it requires him to have a makeout session with another actress, because he says that he feels that it's adultery, and he won't do it. So for 2 years, I saw him in an interview. For 2 years, this man was blackballed in Hollywood. He couldn't get a job. He couldn't get a job anywhere. No one would hire him. So he said, he lost a lot of his car. I mean, has house issues. I mean, he was in trouble financially because he couldn't work, because no one would hire him, because he was not willing to be in movies in which he felt was committing adultery. And so he was really, really delighted to be in this movie. Actually, originally, when they told him the role, because of his faith, he's such a devout Christian, the role that he's playing, he was like, no, I don't think this could, no. But after giving it some time to think about it, he said, okay. So I think he's a phenomenal actor. And I definitely, unfortunately, it's not on Blu-ray. It just came out not too long ago. I think it's Angel Studios, if I'm correct. It's Angel Studios is who produced it. I think that's right. And they did the Chosen. I don't like Gnosticism. Gnosticism is heretical. Matter of fact, I just did a presentation. I think it was just this past Wednesday, on Bible study. I did a presentation on heresies, and I've talked about Gnosticism. No, I don't know about this, Father Diorio. Annie, I tell you what, that's a tough one, isn't it? Annie's asking, do I believe in parallel universes? Man, I got to tell you something. Parallel universes are quite interesting. And I think I would like to learn more about it. I got to say that my knowledge as far as parallel universe, it's limited. I don't feel comfortable enough to give a presentation on it now. But there's a belief that we live in a parallel universe. That, in other words, there's another universe just like this, just like us. And even some people say that we have this doppelganger, if you will, that there's an exact replica of us in another universe that perhaps maybe, I don't know, the president of the United States, or maybe an exact replica of us is a famous movie star, or whatever it might be. And it's very interesting. It is an interesting concept. And portholes, yeah, a lot of people believe in the paranormal community that, like Bigfoot, that these creatures are interdimensional beings, that they exist in other universes, in parallel universes, and that somehow they're able to use porthole or time travel in order to go from their universe to our universe. So, were you going to talk about narcissism? Did I say I was? No, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll talk about it if you want me to, but I don't remember doing saying I was going to do a presentation on it. But you have to understand I might have said that. And if I did, just let me know. Yeah, it is interesting. So, by the way, New Year's Eve paranormal investigation at the Conjuring House. If you guys have heard about this, it's sold out. So if you're wanting to do the investigation there, New Year's paranormal investigation, you ain't going to unless you got a ticket. It's only about half an hour from Springfield stands an infamous yet terrifying farmhouse, and this, of course, is by John Budanis, I think. The Conjuring. It's preparing for a paranormal extravaganza this New Year's Eve, and hosted by the dynamic duo of drag queen paranormal investigator Monique Toussaint and author Sam Petrusis. The sold-out event promises an unforgettable night of paranormal and bone-chilling exploration. So attendees lucky enough to snag this ticket, they say, will delve into the depths of the haunted Barrelville abode, armed with ghost hunting equipment provided by the host. The house, notorious for its ghostly resident Bathsheba, Herman from the 1800s, will be open for brave souls to conduct their paranormal investigations. Here's what I'm going to say about this, and I think it's important to say. Stay away from those locations. I'm sorry, stay away from them. You know, here's what I got. I'm not a fan of people going to these locations knowing of the demonic history, knowing that in fact an individual became possessed in that location. And then you go to the location for an investigation. And then here's what happens. Then people contact me. And then they say, well, I went to this location and I investigated, and it's known to have demonic activity. And now all hell is breaking loose in my home, and I'm terrified. I got scratched. I got bit. I'm afraid. I have an attachment. Fix it. And then my answer to them is, no, I'm not the one who broke it. And then they get upset with me, almost as if they are entitled to me coming up and showing up at their house, spraying fairy dust or whatever, that somehow sprinkling this fairy dust and is going to just poof, everything is going to go away. And then I'm going to take care of all, as if I am culpable for that. Well, I wasn't the one who gave the invitation. So let me make this abundantly clear to everyone. If you go to a location that's known to have demonic activity and then you get attacked, don't expect clergy to show up and fix your problem that you caused. You gave the invitation. Accountability is something that we need to talk more about within the paranormal community. Accountability is something that is almost as if people hold us accountable, clergy, because of their actions. I'm the one who did it. People ask me all the time. They say, do you ever go back to Bobby Mackey's? Why would I? What's the point? Why? The reason is I went there with the Ghosts of Interest cruise because I was there to make sure that they were okay. In fact, they weren't. But I tell people, why? What is this fascination about going to these places that are known to have demonic activity? And the people say, well, I want to see it. I want to explore it. And then what do you do when you do see it? Run away? Well, it's too late. You've already given the invitation. So you can't show up to a location that has demonic infestation just because you want to see it or you want to be entertained. Well, that entertainment has serious implications and long-term consequences for your actions. So you cannot call clergy and then demand that we stop everything that we do to come fix a problem in which you created, and then get angry when we say no. Because I throw it right back at them. What are you willing to do to make this go away? Well, that's why I called you. So you think that the only answer is to call me and I just come over and fix it for you. That's not how this works. It's not how it works. You have to be an active participant, recognize that what you have done is have invited the demonic to enter your life, and now you must accept that consequence and responsibility. So number one, the sacrament of reconciliation must occur. I don't feel comfortable with doing that. With that, I don't feel comfortable coming to your home. I don't feel comfortable coming to your home spending $1,500 of my own money to get to your home because I'm not going to charge you. So if you're not going to at least work on fixing the problem that you created, then don't expect me to show up and sprinkle fairy dust and say, poof, now everything's gone, because it doesn't work that way. And that is real talk, straightforward. I mean, that is no sugarcoating. And I mean, just one of those things. You can't, that's just like jumping into an ocean where you see great white sharks and cutting yourself on your arm and then jumping off, right? Just go ahead, just jump on over the board and then get bit and wonder why in the world did you get bit? But of course, with a shark, I mean, you might get bit and pretty bad, pretty terrible, and you might recover. But with a long-term, with demonic, that is long-term consequence. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. I just don't understand. I don't understand this fascination with people thinking that they can just show up at these demonic cases and there are no consequences. Well, then if you think that, then you truly are just fooling yourself. Because you have to understand something. People who do things like this, they forget about it. If you watch the Mike movie, no. You know what? Honestly, in all the years that I've done this, someone's asking, can the demon enter your home if you watch demonic movies? In all the years that I have done this, I have never worked a valid case where someone watched a scary movie and now they have a demonic infestation. There has to be some form of invitation. There has to be intent. So the intent, for what I mean by this, is you go to a location. Let's say it has demonic infestation. Is anyone here? Can you do something? Can you push me? Can you scratch me? Can you bite me? I don't understand. Why would people do this? Because that is when you're going to get a reaction. You've given the invitation. See, I told Zach a long time ago. Well, I'll answer that question, Marcy, in just a second. I told Zach a long time ago. I said, Zach, don't you understand that you beating your chest like King Kong and pumping your arms and showing how tough you are, you're not, and saying, come on, I dare you to do something. You're not provoking that demon. That's not what you're doing. Well, what do you mean, Bishop? What do you mean? Let me tell you what I mean. While you're beating your chest and challenging this demon, thinking that you're going to stand up to it and come on, I dare you. That demon is within inches of your face. And after you say, come on, I dare you to do something, that demon is saying, oh, I will. Oh, I'll do something. When you're lonely, you're depressed, you'll lose your job, your wife or husband leaves you, you're in great depression, and that's when they're going to accept your invitation. Anybody, what you've done is not provoked. You have invited. And that's what I explained to him. Please understand the difference between provocation and invitation. Beating your chest and saying, come on, demon, I dare you to do something is not provoking. The demons are looking at you laughing, smirking. Oh, I'll do something. You've not provoked the thing. You've invited it. Provocation is when you go to a location that has a demonic infestation and you begin to pray. Now that's provoking. The minor rite of exorcism requires provocation, as well as even the solemn rite of exorcism. We are provoking the entity to manifest itself. When you are out there and you are inviting it, remember, demonic entities exist outside of time and space. So playing with the Ouija board, for example, utterly stupid. Why anybody does it is beyond my comprehension. Well, Bishop Long, I've done a million things and that's never, ever happened. Nothing has ever bad happened to me. And I always say to them, yet. Because see, what happens is you get used to playing with the Ouija boards and nothing happens. And then you get used to playing it more and more and more and more. It's like running a red light the first time you get away with it. Then you run the red light the second time. Now you're going a little faster. And the third time you're going a little bit faster. And the fourth time, now you're going really fast, except this time the red and blue lights start flashing behind you. And now you are driving at 85 miles per hour in a 15 mile per hour zone. And now you're in trouble. You see, demons exist outside of time and space. So 15 years to them, 20 years, 30 years for them is a blink of an eye. For you and me, it's a long time. So that's when they accept their invitation, when you completely forget about it. So why are Ouija boards stupid? Well, first of all, you're actually using a board to open a portal to connect with the spirit world in which you have no idea who you're connecting with. And furthermore, even more stupid, you're allowing that spirit to manipulate your body. That's a form of possession. To control the planet. Well, why would you do this? Why? Why would anybody give permission to any spirit to control their body to move the planet? Why? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. That is a form of possession. And yep, automatic writing is the same thing. Seance is the same thing. You're right. You're right. Scholar and spiritual discerner. Amen to that. Demons know how to get you interested in them. Yep, place activities, but that's true. That's ordinary demonic activity. They will entice you. Now, someone was asking, well, why do they use children? Why do demons attack children? Because here's the truth of it, and this is the nasty, ugly truth of it. because children who are not at the age of reason are not the target. Demons will use anything and everything to get to their main target, you. And they will use the most vulnerable to attack the one that they truly want to attack. Well, how does that happen? Well, kids get scared. The demons are frightening them. The demons are causing problems. Perhaps, let's just say, for example, I had a case once where a young girl at this time, well, she was on 17, 16, and she got very heavily involved in black magic. Summoning demons, and it was terrible, stupid stuff what she was doing. Now, she was in her 40s. She completely forgot about that, or late 30s, and she had some kids, and they were young, I think 9 or 8 years old. And these kids kept saying that they had this experience of this terrible creature, and it was scaring them and frightening them. And the mom was getting upset, and it was getting really mad because she believed her kids, and the kids didn't want to go back in the bed at all. They didn't want to go there. They just were terrified. So the mother got mad. She went into her kid's room and said, I am the mother. I'm not going to put up with this. If you want to fight anybody, you fight me. That is invitation. Now, she's already given the invitation when she was 16 years old. But now she's given the invitation again. And they entice you. They use everything they can to get to you, because that is their main source. And they will utilize anything and everything. That is demonic entities. That's why it upsets me so much when people say that, oh, you can change the nature of demons. That is so stupid. That is so theologically unbelievable. It's ridiculous. Well, you can't. You can change the nature of demons. You can pray for them. The demons don't want your prayers. The demons laugh at your prayers. The demons mock your prayers. If you think you're going to change the nature of a demon, then you don't realize that you've already been beaten by them. They were in the presence of God, and that did not change their nature. They rebelled completely against God. And you think that because you're human, that somehow you're going to do what God couldn't? Ooh, we treading on thin ice there. Thin ice. So this acting like you can control the nature of a demonic is absolutely the intent. Your intent may be good, and that I respect that. But here's the problem. Once you begin doing that, I had a case where someone began praying for demons, a particular demon. I'm not going to mention the name, because they were absolutely so convinced that they had so much love for everything that their love was going to change the demon's perspective on everything. And then they began interacting and summoning its name and things of this nature, invitation. And they got in trouble. Yeah, so stay away from that. Just stay away from that. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Brandy says, what if I was 13 years old? I play with one not knowing the seriousness of how dangerous they are. But since then, I became a Christian and have been ever since. Am I still being followed by something that may have come through that was demonic? Here's what I would say to you. Because you're 13 years old, actually, the church says that 12 is the age of reason. So, yes, you open yourself up. But here's what there is always something that you can do. Now, as Catholics, we do what's called the sacrament of reconciliation. So I don't know your faith, but you can speak, certainly speak to your pastor and ask, your pastor to pray for you, or you can renounce it right now. I mean, denounce all, evil. So. How do you protect yourself and prevent yourself from negative spirits? Well, first of all, again, don't ever, never, ever play with anything that's going to summon them. That's absolutely 1,000,000% stay away from that. So don't go down to the road, down that road of even playing with demons. So, yeah, there's prayers. Like here's a prayer, for example. And I'll break it down for you so you can see how it's the parts of it, the segments are. So Heavenly Father, I love you, praise you, I worship you. I thank you for sending your son Jesus, who won victory over sin and death for my salvation. I thank you for sending your Holy Spirit, who empowers me, guides me, leads me into the fullness of life. I thank you for Mary, my heavenly mother, who intercedes with the holy angels and saints. So what you're doing, the first part is acknowledging thankfulness to God. Now, what words you use, you just pray for your heart. So the first step is thankfulness to God, acknowledging God as your God and acknowledging God for all the things that he has done for you. Thankfulness is your first topic, first section. Now, Lord Jesus Christ, I place myself at the foot of your cross and ask for you to cover me with your precious blood, which pours forth from your most sacred heart and your most holy wound. Cleanse me, my Jesus, in the living water that flows from your heart. I ask that you surround me, Lord Jesus, with your holy light. So now you're acknowledging Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. And whatever prayer that you wish to do so, you can say that from your heart. It doesn't have to be a memorized prayer. So acknowledging thankfulness to God, acknowledging that Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior. Second, Heavenly Father, let the healing waters waters of my baptism now flow back through the maternal and paternal generations to purify my family line of Satan and sin. I come before you, Father, and ask for forgiveness for myself, my relatives, my ancestors, for calling upon any powers that set themselves in opposition to you. So that is a renewal and acknowledging your baptismal vows. And you're asking God to purify you just as baptism did, to purify and wash away any Satan or satanic powers, principalities, evil that's come upon you. Then you have, by the power of your Holy Spirit, revealed to me, Father, any people I need to forgive. So forgiveness is a part of this. Lord Jesus Christ, in your holy name, I bind all evil spirits. So you're invoking the name of Jesus. So you've acknowledged, one, God and thankfulness. Two, you've acknowledged Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior. Three, it's a renewal of baptismal vows, asking God to remove any type of stain of sin, of attachment. Four, by the power of your Holy Spirit, you ask for forgiveness, and then you forgive others. And then you invoke Jesus' name. I bind all evil spirits of the air, water, ground, underground, netherworld. I further bind in Jesus' name. So you're invoking Jesus' name, any and all emissaries and satanic headquarters, and claim the precious blood of Jesus on the air, atmosphere, water, ground, and their fruits around us. So again, it's very important that you call upon Christ, that you invoke the name of God, that you call upon the Holy Spirit, and you also denounce if you've done anything. For example, I break and dissolve any links and effects of links with anything that you've done. So, praying to crystals or fortune tellers or tarot card readers, Santeria, satanic cults, voodoos, Ouija boards, occult games. So you reject them. And yeah, I am not, look here, people can say whatever they want to believe, but I'm, that's in the rosary. Yeah, certainly. I love the rosary. I did a presentation for the Men in Black. I'll have to do another one. I'll have to do another presentation on the Men in Black. It's a very interesting story, a very interesting presentation. Can an incubus or a succubus attack you at any time? Well, but again, there's an invitation. So here's how incubus and succubus attacks work. And I have to be careful because, there could be people who are watching who might be younger. So I have to be careful with my terminology and verbiage. But an incubus and succubus will attack you when you're sleeping. And at first, it is not aggressive. So you have adult dreams. Okay, I think we understand where I'm going with this. Adult dreams. And it's not a violent episode in the beginning. But what happens is it becomes very intrusive. And then you denounce it in the name of Jesus Christ. I denounce it. I want this to stop. Because it becomes very intrusive. And then it becomes violent. And at that time, you begin to, the gig is up. So then you actually sometimes see this creature. This refers to the old hag syndrome, to where once the demon knows that the gig is up and that you've called upon this and you're calling upon Christ to remove this attachment, now you're going to see the true creature as it is. I actually had this 68-year-old woman, the case that I worked, she was attacked with an incubus. That was terrible. That was horrible. That was terrible. Again, I have to be careful about what I say. Her family contacted me as well as her doctors. She was in the hospital, and she had been ripped apart in private areas, and she described it as a plunger being used. And so the doctor said they had no explanation, none. There was extreme trauma, obviously, and she had suffered with this for quite some time before she contacted me, and no one would help her. No one would help her. As a matter of fact, I had her daughter. I had her daughter on the show, and she's an adult, of course, but she talked about it, and no clergy would help her, and she went through hell, and she described them as bed walkers. So when she was going to sleep, she wasn't asleep completely. She was just laying down, but she would feel what she just told me was like 3 10-pound dogs. They were creeping. She could feel them creeping towards her bed, or towards her. They were on her bed. They were creeping towards her. And then she would immediately, and she was wide awake at this time. She was not asleep. And they would, obviously force, they hold her down and do terrible things. And we actually, our team is the only team in the entire world. So when I do this presentation on demonology, I actually show the video to where you see she's in the bed. She was a small woman. She wasn't a very big woman, and she was lying on her side. And you see her bed sheets rise about 4 feet and then fall, and then rise about 4 feet and fall. And she's screaming, and because that's when it was attacking her. But I worked with her for 3 years. 3 years. And that was one case. That was one case that that was the first time I actually thought about quitting, because I did everything that I could to fix it. And that's when I told you guys this before. I went to my mentor and I said, look, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And he was an old priest, and he just looked at me and said, James, get off the cross and let Jesus have a try. And I was really upset about that when he said that. But I learned what he was saying after I calmed down a little bit. He said, you have a Messiah complex. You're not doing anything. And until you learn that you are an instrument that God is using, then you will never, ever help this person. Never. And he was right. He was absolutely right. I had to learn that this person would be relieved in God's time, not mine. So if it took 10 years, it took 10 years. It was not for me to question it. And I had to learn that, because, I did it out of love. I wanted that because I saw her, this torture, and I wanted to stop. I didn't want her to be tortured anymore. But what he said was true. And I learned a very, very valuable lesson that day. And I need it. So anyway, I worked with her for 3 years. And the last year of her life, she was no longer being assaulted. Now, she would sometimes, okay, thank you, Ms. Burtis. She would sometimes feel the bed walkers, but they would never touch her. And then when she passed away of natural causes, her family asked me to preside at her funeral. And that was hard, because I grew to love her family. I grew to love her. She was like a grandma. I mean, she was the sweetest person in the world. And the only thing that we could think of how this started was Santeria. That was the only, she didn't do it. Someone in her family did some pretty bad stuff. So that's the only thing that I could have come up with as far as an explanation. Man, I can't believe it's already. So folks, here's the deal. Tomorrow, TikTok, don't go anywhere. I'm going to stay with you guys for a little bit longer. I will be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for open mic, 8 p.m. No, she passed. So I'll be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. for open mic. I'll answer all your questions. Miss Wilma will be here, and I'll be here. And then at 8 p.m. on Sunday, we have Bible study. So, but I'm not going anywhere, TikTok, so hang on. So for those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. And I'll be here again tomorrow. So hopefully you'll be there. Folks, I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless, and never let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, and Mr. Producer. We'll see you guys next week. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.